Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Press Play. I'm your host, JJ48, and tonight we are beginning a new game with the Stanley Parable. And I kind of got it to its starting screen because when I opened it up to check on it earlier this week, it was asking stuff like, is this the first time you've played the game? And I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to be missing something for like a first time startup. So we'll go through this. Before we get started, I did want to just kind of explain what this game is because it's not like it's a game that received a bit of attention, I think, when it came out, but it's not like one of the big mainstream games or anything. And uh, my understanding from what I've seen of this game is that it's kind of an examination of sort of the interplay between uh, game developers and game players, and sort of looking at how much control each one has. And to that end, I also wanted to kind of just mention that uh, we've played several different games and looked at the stories and things. And there's a bit of story to this game, but it's going to be a very different kind of story from many of the other games we've played. And in say Hogwarts Legacy or the Zelda games, we're often looking at all the lore and this history and uh, all these things going and how they connect with other events and things. And I don't think there's going to be quite so much of that in this game. This is, as the game title suggests, it's the Stanley Parable, and a parable is a story, but a very different kind of story used to illustrate a point or to make a point. So we'll want to be keeping that in mind as we're going through this, of just kind of what is the game trying to what point is the game trying to make or illustrate through all this. And I believe I mentioned when I announced it last week, but there's also multiple endings for this game. Um, we're going to try to see how many of them we can find and go through, uh, go through as many as we can. Um, see if see how that changes things. Or I'm assuming that kind of all of them will sort of fit together to help us understand its point a little bit better. So with that, let's start going through and let's get our game set. Let's turn on English subtitles. And one thing I hadn't noticed until I was staring at this screen is uh, Polski, which I believe is Polish, isn't capitalized. I don't know if that's something if the Poles don't use capital letters or what, but okay. No, we've not played the Stanley Parable before. Okay. And I'm not sure. Try putting it about there because, of course, uh, I'm not sure. It looks like it might be appearing a little bit darker on the stream than it is on my TV. So that. Okay, it is 7:04. Do I need to? Okay, to get it. I'll wait for it to roll over. Probably doesn't need to be 100% perfect, but um, and I also know in some games they're able to do this sort of thing, like sync it up to your system's clock. I think this game was originally made a number of years ago as just kind of a fun little add-on game on or a mod on for Half-Life 2 maybe um, on a console. So this is probably a holdover from when it was originally released. Okay, there we go. I have a little bit of a uh, recursive title screen here. Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Let me just see what settings I can do real quick. Okay, we want subtitles. Okay. WASD space E control crouch. Okay, that's... Alright, let's start the game and see what it is, and hopefully I'm going to try to monitor the audio and see if it... hopefully we'll be able to hear it pretty well. End is never, the end is never, the end is loading, never.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Okay.
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley.
Okay.
Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Okay, we can look around now. Can't. And I hate Mondays. They seem to be very big on labeling things in this office. Got the... I was kind of expecting that maybe the clock would match our time since we had to put in a time. Okay, we leave the office.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Where is the meeting room? Wait, is that... It's more like a lobby. Is that a meeting room? No.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, well, we'll do what they say. Enter the door on our left.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Okay, do not alter without consulting whiteboard manager. We have our meeting schedule. Keeping the meeting schedule for the meeting room, like, just on a whiteboard in the... It seems like that's liable to get changed unintentionally. Okay, push for funding for R&D. New coffee machine. Get Chris out of the broom closet ongoing. Standardized graphics, 40 times wide. Synergize paper, hire someone to synergize papers. Papers are too synergized, fire paper guy, hire somebody to fire the paper synergizing guy. My desk. Please keep the targets on the topic of something, something, something. The future was yesterday. Tomorrow is now. Tomorrow, complete today's unfinished agenda items. Write next day's agenda. Reflect. Okay, I don't remember what our employee number was, but I don't think it was one of those. We'll read that in a moment. Bi-quarterly post-review review. We need less reviews. Probably should be fewer reviews. 402 and 405 want to get rid of the death sport portion in the primary review schedule. I think that's a stupid idea. More water coolers, more water cooler heaters. Charts need to be more hip to appeal to teenage demographic. Find teenagers to put in teenage demographic. Big net or some sort of child trap. Throw something in the ideas ring. No more bins, trash can. Renaming of the ideas can. Firing of me. Okay. Using slides to assure employees that everything is okay. Make sure your slide has a thick blue graphic. Okay. Everyone is unique, you most of all. This is definitely sounding very, very corporate. More money things, but with money to buy more things. Numbers of slides on the slide. Charts, slides, charts, and slides. Rate at which charts on the same slide depict the same information. Okay, let's... Please, no more charts, please. Okay. We're going to go see if we can check our bosses off. Oh, there was somebody supposed to be in the broom closet, wasn't there?
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Okay, so it looks like whoever was stuck in there did eventually get it.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Okay. Ooh. Somebody... Hey, that's not just decorated. That's a completely different architectural style. We're going from, kind of a modern industrial look to sort of a turn-of-the-century banker's office or something. I bet that's actually, what is it, like velvet or something? That kind of wallpaper. Okay, is this the boss's office?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
Amazing.
He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Okay, so it's interesting, the kind of playing with the idea of we as the player have information that Stanley shouldn't have, but we're able to input it, so the game's passing it off. It's like, oh, that was just sheer luck on Stanley's part. Okay. Things got a lot more sinister. Is there ground here? Or am I going to fall? Okay. All right.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Or escape. Mind control facility or escape? Well, the narration is telling us that we go through the mind control facility door, so clearly that's what happens in the story.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Okay, so we did lights, now cameras.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Somebody was fired. Can't tell what their number was. What was our number? Were we like 397 or 327 or something?
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this
427?
time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
There's another...
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
I guess we go in facility power. That's probably where we want to be. Wait, there's numbers here too, so... Are even the employees that monitor all this being monitored? What's this? No, okay. Not sure what that was. The 3 button. Offline. Let's see what happens. Is there a way that we can damage it or destroy it in here? Mind controls idle, awaiting input. Something on that screen I can't read.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Okay.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
When it finishes opening,
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
okay, well, we just beat the game, got an achievement for beating the game. So that was nice. It was a good long experience there. So, of course, I that was one ending. That was, we pretty much just followed the prompts the voices gave, and led to Stanley as getting out and being happy and free. But as he said, there's lots of other things we don't know because that was, we just kind of followed the narrative and didn't really explore around. So now,
All of his co-workers were gone.
okay,
What
so
could
we're
it
back to this
mean?
point in the game.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay, so what we're gonna do this time is when it tells us to go one way, we're gonna go a different way. We're gonna try not to follow the instructions.
Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment.
Yeah, we don't pick up on cues. We don't realize that all the doors are locked. Somebody spilled something. Can't close
When
that door.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, let's go to the right this time.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It
Okay,
had really
so-
been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room.
Seems a lot
Stanley
of
simply stood here,
empty
drinking
space.
it all in.
Speaking of drinking it all in, can I get... No.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
It really is. I'm not sure why we have this little step-down area, though.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nope, we're not going to do that.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Okay. Warning, do not jump from the cargo lift while it is in motion. Will cause death. Penalty for misuse of cargo lift, $1,000. Penalty for jumping off the cargo lift. Also, it's not just death, it's $5,000 and death. Okay. Vent access for trained employees. Climb at your own risk. So we don't want to jump down there. interesting seeing loading docks that you don't just pull the truck up to and load it. You actually apparently back the cars in. Okay, almost fell off. Okay, let's.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Her? Who's her?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Okay.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Is there any way to disobey?
As Stanley picked up the phone, a white light engulfed him, filling him not just with radiance, but with hope. Hope for a life reunited one... Wait. Oh, goodness. Stanley, did you just unplug the phone?
I did.
That wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world.
Okay, good.
Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Rupert has a choice. He could invent a machine that eliminates food shortages across the world to make life better for all people. Or he could spend years of hard work forgetting how to read. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack." Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Ah, welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
Can I not pick up the phone anymore? Okay. Hey, there's some railings around here now. Good. That's a bit safer.
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story.
Oh, that's a good
story
call.
would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
Okay. Yes. Now we have... all the ledges are blocked off. So where are we going? Mr. Narrator?
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world.
Okay.
Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, but the story's more interesting if we make it a little longer.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
Oh man, things really are falling apart here. Okay, nothing else we can do here. Can't. Okay, fine. Go through the other door. There's not really much else. Okay, we're back in the...
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe, after everything we talked about, that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever. Reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? What do I... No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to. I'm here. I'm still here in this pile of rubbish, with you, who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny? You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it.
Language,
That
sir.
thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child. Oh, my story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard to make... behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay. Should we follow his story, or should we see if there's still anything on the right? Let's...
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry. Behave exactly as Stanley would.
Oh,
that
he's...
means choosing responsibly
Is he gonna just...
and always putting the story first.
Is he going to just reset the game anytime we
just
go off
story
now?
Fine. All right. When Stanley came to
Can't
a
even
set
see through
of
the
2
windows
open
now.
doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, we'll follow the story, see if this fixes things. And hey, this looks like it's...
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling
Quest,
a wave of
unbelievable,
disbelief,
amazing
Stanley
work.
decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
How to solve a dispute with a coworker, let it ball up inside you, take it out passive-aggressively on other coworkers, and resent coworkers for not supporting you more. Good advice. Oh, he won't even let us go in the broom closet now. I think the narrator's really mad at us. There's a lot of debris coming out of... Okay.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
And we can't go downstairs either. That was an option, I think, the first time, so... He really doesn't want us getting off track, does he? Oh.
Stepping inside his manager's office,
It's a little
Stanley
different.
was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Nightshark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code. Stanley spoke the code. Nightshark 115. He spoke it into the receiver, right there on the wall.
Nightshark 115. Okay, so it's not picking up through my microphone.
I'm sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise, we can't get on with the story. This is a crucial step.
Well, you didn't give me a way to talk.
Okay, fine. You're not going to do it. But you know what? It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak.
I tried
Say
that, and then you
something
forced me to come back here.
Explain yourself, you coward! You... When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Stanley? Hello? Are you... Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice. I need you to walk through the door. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me? Is everything all right? Stanley, this is important. The story needs you. It needs you to make a decision. It cannot exist without you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both correct. You cannot be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please. Choose. Do
do something?
Hmm.
Anything? This is more
Okay.
important than you can ever know. I need this. The story needs it. So, you hear me? Are you there? Are you listening to this? Stanley, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait.
Because, of course, if we're not controlling Stanley, then nothing
Trying to
happens.
make sure your choice is correct. That is the best choice. That's all right. I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do. Take as much time as you need.
Okay. So, the first time through, we followed the instructions, did everything just exactly as we were told, and uh, came to an ending, but didn't really it was really short. We didn't really find out anything new about. Didn't solve the mystery like what happened to Stanley's coworkers. What is this place? What's going on? Second time, we did the opposite of what we were told each time, and things kind of went off the rails and sort of destroyed any narrative cohesion that was there. So we have the narrator, we technically have Stanley, but then we also have us controlling Stanley. The narrator made it very clear that there's a distinction between Stanley and the player controlling Stanley. So the first one is what happens if we just if the narrator, the person who's writing the story is in complete control and the player does nothing out of the ordinary. The story gets completed, but the player's just kind of like, okay, I did this and did all these simple steps, and that was that. The second one is more what happens if the player is directly subverting the story, going against everything that the narrator wants. Like to think of other games, everything in the story is telling you, hey, you need to go to the castle. Oh, the next thing you need to do is go to the castle. Hey, you're looking for this. I hear the princess has one at the castle. You can have where the game is definitely telling you need to go in this direction, and the player just decides, nah, I'm going to go in a completely different direction. And if the game hasn't accounted for that, then you end up with some really bizarre things of things happening out of order.
Were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I'm going to try going into the meeting room, but this time when we head up to our boss's office, we're going to go downstairs instead. See if that's an option.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping him coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Oh, this looks... What's this? Seems to be something written on there. I can't make out what it says. We can't seem to pick it up. Okay.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations.
Going in circles.
For example, Why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did
Hey.
doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they
B11,
simply
12.
repeating? No, Stanley said to himself,
1,
this
2,
is all
B4.
too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue.
B11, 12.
He just hadn't found the words for it.
Can we go back?
I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Oh.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange.
Wait, what
I'm
happened to our
dreaming
Starfield?
about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man.
That got
He was
dark.
obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Didn't even call the police or an ambulance. Oh. Okay, so that one seems to be Stanley himself as the character being aware of the game and the fact that he's in a game. He didn't actually say he was in a game, but realizing that like something about this is off. And the idea that it was as real as it had ever been, of course, makes sense in that it was it was never real. He's always been part of a video game character. Okay, so let's see what else can we do from here. I know there's a bunch of endings. Ones that we don't get to today, I'm gonna probably look up to. But what else can we do just based on what we've seen? We can go back, follow the door on the right, and maybe answer the phone this time. We could try walking off the ledge on the right-hand side. We could also follow the left-hand side, and when we went to the mind control room, there was a path that said escape. We might be able to try that path. Let's go answer the phone
All
first.
of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
This office also seems like it's very impractically laid out, and I wonder if that's a deliberate... I wonder if that's done deliberately to kind of reference the fact that many games are laid out in a way that makes them interesting from a gameplay perspective, and, you know, for going through the game, there's lots of fun stuff to find and a good path through it, but it doesn't really make sense as an office space or whatever else whatever it's supposed to be in the game.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Okay, the open door on the left is also something that we can do coming this way and
Stanley
then
was
going
so
that way.
bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Let's...
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me. I'm asking, this is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem
Chance for
yourself.
her.
To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
All right, let's do it. Oh, there we go.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you?
Won't let me
I'm
move.
trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
To have a untextured mannequin, or just... I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a mannequin or if it's just supposed to be a computer model that's not really textured.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Uh-oh. Good morning, employee. 427, press X on your keyboard. Why? What's going to happen?
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
It's kind of freaking me out having the model there. H.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Well, N to watch TV.
And so he began to
Hey.
fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that
It's not
one
watching
day
TV.
while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Press G to spend time with the boys.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
C to prepare dinner.
As he wandered through this
Oh.
fantasy world,
It's not
he
dinner.
began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Press H to tell your kids a story.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
F to tell your wife you love her.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
P to go to sleep.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Press B to get working more. Okay, fine. Let's try doing what the narrator says. Is there a way to eventually not push the button, or is it just going to wait for us to do it so then he can say we failed? Oh. Okay. Seems like we pretty much have to push it, I guess.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Press U to question nothing.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Didn't give me a button to press there, just decided I was dead, I guess. Does this look a little different? This is a different...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Oh, we're back to... something weird. This isn't the original choice. This is...
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
It's not like a secret way out or anything. Okay. So we're going to try...
Into a staircase, Stanley walked
up.
upstairs to his boss's office.
If this is all the same as executive bathroom, let's see what. Because the boss knows that what the boss says goes. If the boss has suffered losses, then that's what the boss chose. Very large bathroom for just a single toilet. Extreme bathrooms. Like, I can understand, you know, with an executive bathroom, maybe not wanting to have it filled with stalls or something, but with this large, you could have, like, 2 completely individual bathrooms, at least. Oh. Little lobby. Oh, is this maybe where, like, people who don't work here would come up this way and wait here until they... have an appointment with the boss or something. Let's see what happens if we go up. Just how tall is this building? Wait, we didn't even go anywhere? Okay, fine. Let's try going down. Okay, as far as I can tell, unless I'm just getting impatient, it seems like that just keeps on going until we push a button again, then lets us back out. Okay.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began
Certificate of
wildly tearing
compass.
through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845.
What happens if we
But
put
of
in a different
course,
number?
Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. JJ4845. Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Not the most secure system possible, but okay, so let's see. Is this going to give us an escape route?
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Nope. We're going on an escape.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
I don't believe you.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Whoop. Didn't look like it was quite so long a drop.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever.
I thought the
Stanley
fall was
can't
going to be our
see
death.
the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
No.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Oh. But we escaped.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Have a narrator narrating the narrators.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Nature paintings. Stanley's computer. Office layout. This blueprint shows the office from the beginning of the game. The path from Stanley's office to the two doors was the first part of the game that was built. Sections have been added and altered throughout development, though the core layout remains almost identical to the first iteration. Okay, so yeah, there's Stanley's office. There's the path we walked, the area where we were told that Stanley noticed all his coworkers disappeared. Through some more offices, and then over here to where the two doors are. Corridor. The pacing of this opening section was important to get right. This corridor has been moved and altered to make sure the player reaches the two doors in a good time. You probably want it to take a little bit of time so that he can't, so that it doesn't rush the narrator, but that it also has enough, it's not too long and too boring. The two doors. The set of the two doors was the very first concrete piece of the Stanley Parable's design. Once this room was created, the rest of the game emerged as an extension of it, an exploration of the contradiction this room posed. The office. Button sounds. A selection of the sounds used throughout the game when buttons are pressed. Each sound is a mix of a keyboard stroke and a synthesized tone. Okay. Office computers. Employee database. Somebody's playing solitaire. Somebody's installing something. And when is this supposed to take place? Why do our computers have a 5.25-inch floppy and a 3.5-inch floppy? No CD drives. This would have to be 80s or maybe early 90s. I guess you can also tell it's a bit earlier since all the computers are kind of a white color rather than black became kind of the new norm, I think. About, I think shortly after CD-ROMs appeared, it seemed like computers started black becoming the new norm. Maintenance room, an early version of the maintenance room. Okay. Yeah, we'll go this way first, and we'll come back past the credits. Ultra Deluxe announcements. In December 2018, we announced the Ultra Deluxe version of the Stanley Parable at the Game Awards. These are screenshots of the videos we made for the announcement and the game's delay. Got some money flying. We got fun on a computer. I don't think we've seen these. Maybe that's the employee break room, but Warzone. Early in development, we designed an ending where Stanley would end up on a battlefield fighting aliens. The action game would become sentient and would wage war against the narrator. We realized shortly after starting to build it that it was far too jokey and on the nose for the tone of the game. Plus, some people interpreted it as us as making fun of people who like shooters, which was not our intention. I guess I wanted to make sure that this doesn't come across as like they're not insulting people who like any particular kind of game or something. This is more just talking about games in general. Narrator emails. After the second trailer we sent out, we asked people to email the narrator for questions. While we had initially planned to use these further promotional materials, we never found the perfect use for them. Here are a selection of those emails. From Savula, final warning. There is a skeleton inside of you. There are more skeletons in this world than humans. Thanks and goodbye. Question brought forth by the intense passion of my soul. Am I Stanley? Are you spying on me? I don't. Why? How? Question. Will the game feature capybaras? I don't see an answer to that one. Dear narrator, how do you stay in shape? Sincerely, Michael the Rock Martin. Okay, I'll read one more. I need life advice. No. I don't want that one. I won't see. Go to a different one. Guarding your game in the works. Dear narrator, I appreciate the previous Stanley game as a work of art and a standalone title. I appreciate the credit given to art, which is why I'm eager to see it. Will Stanley Parable have infinite quests? How many endings? If the Stanley Parable is really going to let me go shopping, I hope it will have a fine selection of desert boots. Okay. How do you make a JRPG? How do you make the worst game ever? What is the difference between a duck? All right. Let's see what's over here. Okay, we have more of the office stuff. The lounge, an early version of the lounge. I kind of like the blue that they ended up going with. The apartment timer. In a previous version of the choice leading to the apartment ending, a timer would give you 15 seconds to pick up the phone. Not picking up the phone would lead to a different ending. Cargo lift. The second version is functionally the same as what's in the final game, but we wanted it to look more like a place where cargo is actually stored. Okay, so I think this is where we get on the lift and end up going over to the phone. Initially, it looked very much more like just a video game level of, hey, here's a large empty area, get on this moving platform. And then eventually they added in in the final version they added in, like, hey, let's make this look more like a platform that might be used for moving boxes around, and then put a bunch of shelves for boxes and stuff. The cargo lift. The cargo lift was always intended to offer the choice of staying on or jumping to a different path. However, after this early version, we decided we also wanted the option for the player falling to their death. Okay, I haven't tried that yet. There's a lot in here. Okay. Maintenance layout. The flow of hallways following the first two doors was important to get right, since players will replay them so many times. We discussed a number of designs, but ultimately it was the simplest version that won out. Okay, so one option, one doorway to maintenance in the lounge. So you could disobey, go to the lounge, then go to maintenance, or you could obey, go to the staircase. Two options, two doorways to maintenance. Disobey, then get to maintenance a couple ways. The other entrance would be hidden depending on how you entered. Then confusion ending. One option, one doorway to maintenance in the lounge, and the original back on track option. Then vent. How about this? The lounge having a vent to maintenance, then to the confusion ending. I don't know that we've seen confusion ending. Yeah, okay. Might be getting a little bit of a sneak preview of some endings. Zending levers. These levers were originally a part of the Zending. The player would pull a lever and the narrator would describe what color they had pulled. Zending model. The Zending went through many iterations. This room represents the fourth version of the ending, and we thought it was complete, but decided to abandon and change it again shortly before launch. That big red button just makes me think very much of Portal, along with the blank white walls. Zending. This screenshot depicts an early version of the ending known as the Zending, which was eventually cut and merged with another part of the game. The game is now paused. Begin the game again, resume the game options, return to menu, escape menu. For a long time, we had an ending that only ended when the player restarted from the escape menu. Unfortunately, very few players realized this was what they were supposed to do, which was frustrating for everyone. Okay, yeah, that is a downside with, like, if you have like secret endings and things that are a little too secret, then it can become frustrating if the players don't know what they're supposed to do. Especially if it's not just like, hey, here's a secret that you see this if you do the right thing, but the type of secret where, hey, if you don't do the right thing, then you're just kind of stuck here. All right, so trailers. We ran 4 major teaser trailers over the course of the game's development, each meant to convey something about the spirit of the game. This is the first one, released in May 2012. It features a series of broken rooms and the voice of the narrator informing viewers that he is repairing a new version of the Stanley Parable. No audio. Okay. Man. Okay. Hopefully we'll be able to find everything. Oh, okay, it's over there. Countdown room, an early version of the countdown room. Monitor room elevator. For a time, the elevator in the monitor room could go up or down with freedom above and countdown below. We abandoned this when players found it too difficult to remember what was up and what was down, and placed the 2 endings together instead. Okay. Freedom ending. This is the freedom ending as it existed in beta. I think it looks a little better the way what we saw. Countdown desk. One of the desks from an early version of the countdown ending. Okay, that says exit, so let's try to explore everything else before we go that way. Freedom ending. This was the very first incarnation of the freedom ending in the game's alpha. Office clock. Okay, this is back to the credits room. So, all right, that's where we started. Okay. Boss's office. Screens from the development of the boss's office. Also, originally it was going to look far more stark. Maybe. I guess I don't know if that's... They were originally envisioning it being far more stark, or if they say, if, you know, that this is the development, that it's like, okay, this was the early models where we just put the... You know, we were just putting objects and filling in where it goes, and then this is when, you know, we actually put the textures on. Maybe that's what they mean, but... The lounge. Underground, an early version of the underground portion of the game. Okay, the escape where we went, and mind control facility.
Then he pushed the number 4.
Narration outtakes.
Shoot. Well, try the other one then. When Stanley came to the lift, he traveled upwards to the power source at the top of the facility to end this injustice forever.
Kevin Briding, the voice of the narrator, recorded dialogue for the entire game roughly 3 separate times over the 2 years of development. These are clips from early takes
closely, Stanley.
that were not
See
used.
how it's impossible for the player to do anything in this room. Perfect example of poor level design. Then he pushed the number 4. It's the kind of thing you pick up on intuitively if you had even the most fundamental understanding of good and bad game design.
Okay. So I'm guessing we'll end up hearing some clips that are similar to those, just not the same ones. Maybe they'll be re-recordings that they thought came out better. Maybe it'll be this one was a bit too verbose, so we went with a shorter version. But okay. Game design mock-up. This is the level that William, the level designer, sent Davey, the writer, as a kind of audition piece. The strength of this level got William hired to design the full game. Though much of the environment has changed, the basic layout from this mock-up is still in the game. Okay, so it looks like one of the ones that's kind of falling apart. Okay, employee center. This, yeah, that's the emails. Okay, so we've already been that way. 427, 427. Oh, are these different versions of Stanley's office? Stanley's office. From left to right, the evolution of Stanley's office over time. The first was created in November 2011. Okay, just a smaller desk. Okay. The second in March 2012. Much larger wraparound desk. 2 computers. Okay. And the third in February 2013. Okay, that's pretty much, I think, how it is now. Kind of have all the filing cabinets that kind of go behind the desk a little bit. Also, what just kind of bothers me that these cables are sticking out everywhere. You'd think you'd tuck them back a bit. That wasn't in the original desk design, but it was something that they decided on pretty quickly, to have the cables all over the place. All right. So let's head to the exit.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
The Stanley Parable, we're going to switch it from on to off. Just shut off the game.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save those two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Okay. part didn't stop. Okay, so we might remember that might be another option. Trying to hit escape and reset the game. Okay. To me, I think that one, especially with the second narrator there, and then kind of getting a little bit of a chance to see behind the scenes and seeing all the development and everything. It seems like it's really kind of highlighting. Excuse me. Even though Stanley and the narrator seem to kind of be in conflict because we either do everything the narrator says or we make our own choices and make the narrator mad. But really, both sides need each other. We kind of saw with the ending where we went off on our own and things got worse and worse and messed up until we were eventually just watching Stanley standing there doing nothing. The narrator needs the player in order to actually drive the game ahead and get things happening. And of course, the player needs the narrator and the game developers to actually have a story. Otherwise, like, we wouldn't know anything that was going on if we didn't have the narrator.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
So.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I'm going to try going to the right and then... new content. Well, I was going to go to the right. Let's see what new content is.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Yeah, so am I. A little surprised the narrator doesn't already know about
so
it.
So far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Yeah, well, hold your horses. How do we...
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh,
there we go.
All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
All right, we got some brick walls.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
What happens if we just wait in the elevator? Narrator gonna complain. No? Okay.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
All right, what happens if we jump all these times? We can actually jump. That's cool. Haven't been able to jump so far. jumps remaining, meaning that's the limit of how many times we can jump. Okay. Got an achievement that says you can't jump. No, seriously, we disabled it.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh wait, there's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Okay. Can we sit in the chair? No. Didn't add that. Thank you for enjoying the new
That's
content.
it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid.
It's not called
could
Twitter
never have
anymore.
lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Well, this is new. Maybe there was some new content after all.
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something!
I don't know how much I trust the narrator, but... Narrator seems a little bit like the Rocky and Bullwinkle narrator. It's a... I could see some similarities in personality. The way they kind of interact with the story a little bit.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Oh. Like a cathedral with a bunch of office chairs and printers. Ooh. This is lovely.
The Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
Okay. 2013.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
I don't know that that's an actual box for the Stanley Parable. Looks like it's a, was that? That Microsoft Office had a box like that. 2014 Independent Games Festival. Also, I think, not sure this was ever. I don't know if this was released on like physical media or if it was just download, but British Academy of Film and Television Arts awarded to the Stanley Parable in the category of story. It looks like this was originally awarded to somebody for The Last of Us. Don't know. I'm sure it's probably referencing whoever actually wrote the story for The Last of Us, but clock's a bit off. Why did they even have us set the time if the time doesn't do anything? Our First Kiss, My First Car, the release of the Stanley Parable in 2013. Stanley Parable by the narrator. Postcard. Okay. Mozilla Firefox page, the original remake. Smile Because It Happened. Some CDs. Dollar bill. For some reason, it looks like it's way too big to be an actual dollar bill, just compared to how big like the size of Stanley and the furniture and everything. Stanley Parable demonstration. Go outside. Don't play for 5 years. Unachievable. It's impossible to get this achievement. We need to fix that bench.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim. It was Persona 3. It was all of them. And now, it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Okay, so don't read any reviews except this one. How do you review a game like the Stanley Parable? To describe any one part of it is to risk its ruination. To detail what it has to say about game design, the illusion of choice, and the psychology of the gamer is to tell you too much. Comparisons, too, are going to be woefully inadequate. Perhaps its closest cousin would be Dear Esther, but where Dear Esther wastes the form of interactive entertainment, Stanley Parable uses and then subverts it. Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created. Even so, holding the game to the standards of any other title is simply not going to be correct. So how do you review what has become known as the Stanley Parable HD, the full-scale reimagining of one of the most intriguing mods available online? How do you discuss it, analyze it, and recommend it? That's quite simple. You don't. Okay. Flawless victory. Games rated 10 aren't perfect since nothing is, but they come close as close as you could get in a given genre. The new must-have game in its sector. We're talking pure ecstasy. Check out more reviews or the Destructoid score guide. Stall 2. Minecraft? I thought this was supposed to be memories of the Stanley Parable. Why do we have Minecraft? And Portal. Okay, that definitely is Portal there. So I think I might have been correct. They got a little bit of inspiration from Portal. This is maintenance for the memory zone. Okay, I don't need to go down there apparently. Okay, showing some of the laying things out and setting up. I'm guessing this is like setting up where things happen, like setting a zone that when you walk into this zone, the narrator's going to start talking, and when you walk over here, then this door opens and stuff like that. Okay, some little models. I guess that's Stanley, and that's, I forget her name, the lady who saw Stanley after he collapsed and then was happy that she wasn't crazy. 2 doors. Stanley Parable. Maybe they did do a actual box like that. Maybe that could have been. Maybe that was the way that's done up makes me think maybe that was like a promotional thing, like a collector's edition or something. If this is actually accurate, then it looks like they had one with a tie, which is kind of a neat tie. Okay, it's never the end is never the is never. Okay. People play games because of what they can do inside them, and your game is very good at letting them know they can't do anything. Literally anything.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
I've always been someone who wants to go the wrong way first in games. When I sense that a game is trying to usher me down a particular path to get me to run from left to right, or maybe to charge straight ahead, I need to satisfy my instinct to go against the grain, to explore, to see what the designers have put back the other way. Sometimes I find a one-up or a collectible stashed away to reward me for my intrepid behavior. At other times, my explorations are rewarded only by the crushing disappointment of running up against an invisible wall. Whatever I find or don't find, my action is a manifestation of my desire to exert some independence, to make my own choices within a system that severely limits my options and encourages certain specific behaviors. The Stanley Parable feels alive in its responsiveness to your choices, and its desire to subvert your expectations and keep you on your toes. I think of the Stanley Parable as a sort of video game analog for Charlie Kaufman and Spike Jonze's brilliant film adaptation, which gently mocked the ways in which so many films manipulate audiences with formulaic plot twists and situations in which characters learn huge life lessons while simultaneously moving me with its formulaic plot twists and situations in which characters learn huge life lessons. Yeah, that's true. A lot of parody, really good parody, will not only poke fun at things, but also use what it's poking fun of and play it straight at times, showing that you can both mock it and get a good effect from it. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and in other systems too, like our workplaces and our families, and a game that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. Going the wrong way has never felt so right. Repeatable carpet textures. Ready for your game projects. 6 royalty-free designs. Source SDK. Some development kits. Okay, that can't go through this way. Can't go through that way. This is back the way we came.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
Do we have added content for the shrine against added content? Wait, $1.25 for a can? Tell me those are actual bottles. Okay, looks like they might actually be bottles. I was gonna say, for $1.25, it better get more than just a can.
Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Um, yeah. So on Steam, the service where you can get games and you'll be able to just download them directly to your computer instead of having to install from discs. People can submit their own reviews, and uh, reviews tend to vary wildly. I'm actually kind of curious what people would have said about a game like this. Um, these would have been just like regular people playing it and then writing a review, not like video game magazines or professional critics or anything like that. There's a
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine
beige
where I'd have
pages.
the room to stick them.
We didn't get to read the whole thing. We also have here's a thumbs up one that we can't actually read. So they're not all negative. And lots of reviews. Another thing with Steam reviews is because of, anybody can submit them. You do tend to get a lot of them for any games that achieve any amount of notice from the public.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
While the idea for the game is good, it becomes very repetitive and boring fast, despite all the alternative endings and game cameo appearances. This game is titled thought-provoking, but you'll get the idea. It tries to communicate pretty fast, and then it is just repeating the whole no choice in games thing over and over again. For somebody who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast, as it is neither a revelation nor very interesting. It is thought-provoking only in the first minutes. See, I'm not sure if no choice in games is the point they're making here, though. It seems to me that the point is precisely, how much choice does the character have, or the player, but then also, that the game developers, how things go wrong if they try to remove too much choice and put the game on rails too much. So I'm not sure that reviewer really understood the game completely. Can't jump. Looks like there's a review in there. Like we should be able to get there. But we can't go through here. Oh, here's one. Okay, maybe we'll walk around, get back around to there eventually.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
I don't like skipping over stuff I haven't heard before.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, 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 no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So, now you see. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise.
Okay.
Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of having made said choice.
Okay.
That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been, making every choice to which you've ever given your Greek gift of mortal and yet timeless thought? Or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite? You see, it could in fact be both of these things.
I'm not
at
sure I
once,
agree with
that. You are both making choices and not making choices, and that they are both affecting you and not affecting you at the same time by virtue of the fact that you both are and are not making them. Okay, at first, I was leaning towards manifesto, but now I'm going to circle around and slap the treatise label on this one. I think it has much more of a treatise vibe to it. But wouldn't you say that manifesto just has a much grander...
Yeah, let's skip.
Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works. Perhaps that would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, surely whoever it is runs Steam will instantly run out and implement a new feature to make it possible to edit one's review, merely because of this very situation. Yes, I think that's quite likely. Or perhaps they'll simply grant this particular user the ability to change their review, so that the feature is not widely abused. Look, I would even be okay with Steam altering this particular review so that it reads as something more beneficial. Something along the lines of, this game is the best game. Let me start over. How about this? From the ashes of depravity rises the phoenix of quality. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait. How do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before.
There was.
How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter
Let's
a room without
see if
a
we can
door
skip
of some
out.
sort. Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my
How long has it
goodness.
been?
I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here.
Power's
with a
mostly
single
gone out.
person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters anymore. I'll give it all up. I'll give up every branching path. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything, is to know that someone else is taking it in. These words...
Oh.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant.
Cool. Hello? Oh. The narrator get bored of us, tired of us skipping him, and he just left? Don't know how he'd leave without a door, but I guess he's just a disembodied voice. I guess maybe he doesn't even need a door. Oh. Clock fell off the wall. Now let's skip past the beeping.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have
Oh,
a
hello.
point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley Parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires. Every single thing.
Yeah, that is one of the downsides. One of the reasons you probably shouldn't put too much stock in like individual reviews is they're all written by a bunch of individuals who all have different ideas of what a game should be, what makes a game good, what makes it bad, what it should have or shouldn't. And so, yeah, you'll have some people saying, "Oh, I want more of this," and other people will be saying, "We want less of this." So you kind of need to, if you're seeing a lot of reviews saying the same thing, sometimes that might be something to kind of take into consideration of like, hey, maybe this is concerned with a lot of people. But especially when it's a matter of personal choice, personal preference, the developer really needs to have an idea of like, what do I want my game to be ultimately?
The end is never the end, 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 is never the.
Is the room starting to flood or something? This did rise up out of the water. Oh. Wow, that's... Is that mold? Is it going to be safe for us to be stuck here for a long time, just breathing in mildew and mold? Oh, maybe if we skip long enough, the wall will fall down. We'll be able to get out. Now, this is reminding me very much of Portal 2. Parts where the facility had been damaged and we were seeing like stuff growing. Plants are gone. Why are the plants gone? Well, button even collapsed. Hey! Press the button again. Doesn't look like it. Looks like the button's broken, but looks like we can finally get out. And oh my. Narrator, what happened to your memories? Where are we even going? Can we get on top of here? Okay, okay. I figured eventually it would do something with us. All right. What ending was that? That was we walked into the hall and there was a new content. Okay. Okay, let's try going in the right door, but then taking the way back.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
New content. Oh. We pull these. Do we check out the new content or? Let's go try the doors. Oh, this is new.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Okay.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
But what's this? It's an elevator, but it's not a new content elevator.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left. Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake. No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Okay, that's a little scary with the truck having its lights on. I was worried it was going to drive through. Okay. Oh. Hey, we've been in this room before. Oh, this is the balcony that you could kind of see from...
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
Wait, 104 was fired.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh, we don't have the new content.
When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere, or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Ooh, okay, let's... kind of want to start with the right, but then there's windows showing stuff there. But I guess maybe... Yeah, let's start with the left. Yeah, there we... Is this the story? It's a different type of hallway.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
I thought it was just getting good. All right.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong.
Yeah.
It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Can you open the door, please? Thank you.
Aha! I knew we'd missed something. The story. Here it comes.
This...
No, wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
I'm not sure this space actually makes sense. Well, oh, what happened here?
Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well,
Yeah.
you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations!
Yay!
I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Maybe it would help if you gave me an achievement?
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Okay. Oh, it's leading us to some new areas. What happens if we try to go off the line?
No, I'm down. We're leaving it up to the line from now on.
Okay. This narrator just... Ah, there's the computer with solitaire on it. Do you have any moves he can play? Oh, yeah, there's red 3, black 4. Red 7, black 8. Yeah.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay. Now, if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office, in fact, the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Oh, very fitting music. I think this music's a little bit too jaunty. Monthly ledgers, corporate imbalances, consolidation reports, annual reviews, departmental accounts. Whoa. Wait a second. So if we follow the line, we end up going that way. But if we... The line also seems like it's this way. Or is it... Is this just a long hallway that goes to the same place? Employee 432 peer reviews.
the music. Go back
Thank you.
and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Okay.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Whoa.
Oh, no, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart. You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
All right. But why is there a number on the door, but it leads to a hallway, not an office?
Now, yes, this is exciting.
Or is
Just
this...
me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
Legend of Zelda.
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Looks like the line's escaping through the ceiling.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere at the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
The confusion ending.
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes?
Narrator's gone after a long time. Stanley dies.
Determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this
find
thing.
Confusion ending.
Wall.
Narrator restarts the game. Narrator forgets about previous restarts.
Who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped?
Oh.
Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
After the 7th restart, said we could find a bookstore. Okay. Hey, wait. Phone ringing. Not that phone?
Hello. This is a recorded message scheduled either by you or a person in your place of work. The purpose of this message is to warn you about the dangers of recorded messages. If at any time you believe you are listening to a recorded message, please terminate it immediately and cease all flow of information from the recorded message into your perceptual sphere. Thank you, and have a pleasant day.
The narrator seems to be gone. Waiting input. Input received. We managed to input something here. These other ones waiting input. Okay, we're managing to shut off all the computers. Oh, there's the new content.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Let's try jumping from the lift.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
And next time we can try the new content.
Room, Stanley for the first, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nope.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
What happens if we just walk off?
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death.
That's unfortunate.
Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
So the one thing I'm not sure of is, was listening to this
No matter
message...
how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Was that just like an Easter egg, or was that an indication that, like, from there we could find another ending, and did we miss our chance at it? Awaiting input. Oh, it was on a different one. Oh, so maybe next time we come through another computer we'll have it. So now we have 2 inputs. Okay. Okay, let's check out the new content.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
It's just going to be elevators and jumping. No, it's an elevator.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Oh.
Yes, This, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of
And
all the
there's
new
never the end
territory
again.
we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
I wonder if this is going to end up being kind of a poking fun at games that are given a sequel because they're really popular and everyone's like, oh, I want a new version of that game or something, but they don't really need a sequel because like the sequel's not really adding, like, you can't recapture the same feel again. Sometimes a sequel makes sense, but sometimes a game doesn't. And for something like the Stanley Parable, I can't imagine a sequel would actually accomplish all that much unless they had some very new novel ideas.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Hey, the office does seem much nicer, I guess. Although, okay, I do have to say, personally, not a fan of like these more open offices where you just have desks. People are, I like my cubicle. I like having my little bit of privacy, a little bit of sound dampening from everything else going on. New content is out. New content part 2 is in. Old and busted. New hotness. That was Men in Black reference, I think, wasn't it? Boring sections of the chart. Cool red section of the chart. I think old and busted and new hotness. That was Will Smith referring to himself as the new hotness. Stanley Parable 2. All the marketing things that are like, hey, we're going to try to... Oh, there's the fern that we were referencing. We're going to keep referencing stuff, but doing it just to kind of try to have stuff to...
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be.
Yeah,
but let's
noticed.
take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
New features.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Oh. You're going to have a merch store for Stanley Parable 2? There's going to be microtransactions in the game? Stanley Parable 2 Reassurance Bucket. Okay, office decorations, an infinite hole. Please no screenshots. Was that what Stanley looks like? I don't think we've seen much, been able to see his face very well to this point. Jump circle and an infinite hole. Okay, so you included a jump circle too. Button that says the name of the player that is playing the game. Hear your name in the game.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious
Big, too
answer
small.
is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply?
Okay.
Are you really, truly Jim right now?
Absolutely.
If so, then please step forward and press the button.
I am Jim, but you know, the one thing missing from my life is I don't have a button that says my name when I press it.
Jim.
Oh, wow.
Yes, you see? What a thrill, what a rush. That was you. The button described you. Do it again, do it again. Jim. Ooh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money.
Absolutely.
Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Okay, let's go back and see the other features.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
You heard Jim in the game. Button that says Jim. What's over here? Epilogue.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it will go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Infinite hole. It won't end. Free new and easy achievement. I want a free easy achievement. Well, let's go to the free achievement for settings world champion. I also want to see the reassurance, but let's go see the achievement. It just works. Get yours right now. Pull the lever, receive your new achievement. No more steps. It just works.
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes, you see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Come on, open up. Pull me, please pull me. Is there anything we can do maybe to try to fix this so it'll work? Yeah, it's just... Well, that was a disappointment. Okay, let's go see the bucket or whatever it was.
What else? What other
there's a
exhibits
jump
haven't we
circle.
seen yet? You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's a... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle? Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece, then.
I wonder if something... If we hadn't used all the jumps the first time, if we'd still have jumps left here. Oh, collectibles. Wait, let's see. Here's a map. Okay, so we have the jump circle at N. 5 is this map. Yep. Q is the free achievement that doesn't work. B, the button that says the name of the player that is playing this game, as long as it's Jim. Z, merch. Hashtag settings world champion. B2, the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. We're going to want to see that. Settings World Champion. 3, Office Decorations. Want to see that. Epilogue, we saw that. Semicolon. A9 Collectibles. Okay, let's go there next. K, the Infinite Hole, and E, Exit. All right, we'll go to the collectibles, then we'll go to the reassurance bucket, the office decorations, and the settings world champion. Then we'll go to the infinite hole and see if it is before heading to the exit. Okay, so let's. Can you find them? Ooh.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number
That's
go
what
up.
people
You
want.
simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Okay, we've got 1 out of 6. Are there more? Okay, won't let us collect anymore. You're gonna give me 1 out of 6 collectibles and not let me
God,
get the
it
rest?
really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Okay, no, that's the exit. You know what's even worse is when they give you 1 of a collectible and won't give you the rest of them. Okay, so let's see the reassurance bucket.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I am happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
Oh, we actually get to pick up the bucket?
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Well, if we can carry a bucket around, we definitely want to play the Stanley Parable too.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Ooh. Get well someday. Or happy 12th birthday, stepniece. I really like blue, so let's have it be somebody's stepniece's 12th birthday.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get well someday it is.
Wonder what would have happened if we'd chosen the other one. Were we bound to choose the wrong choice, or could we have chosen correctly? Oh, hey, now they're all decorated with Get Well Somedays.
Maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision. We're moving on.
And this picture and that picture swap places. or that room and this room. All right, where's the infinite hole? It's back here. Opening, rim, depth, infinite. Time as it relates to depth, hole like infinity. Huh. Oh, well, if it involves science, okay, it's got to be good then. Must be
Stanley,
perfectly safe.
here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so.
Oh, we didn't
Now
go to the
then,
settings room.
Since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
Okay, but how much farther down?
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
Why? What's going to happen later?
Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling.
That's clearly
What
the issue.
person actually wants to fall infinitely. I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite?
Okay.
If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready. Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Mostly infinite hole. Yep. Glad we clarified that. All right. We need to find the settings world record or whatever it was. Settings world champion. Oh. What's it even supposed to be? Oh, that's new. Oh, this is just the epilogue, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it's the epilogue. Okay. Just we came in from the other door. Okay, so I guess we can exit here. Or maybe we can try maybe the bucket can help us get the achievement. Maybe if we just hit the machine with a bucket. No, can't hit it with a bucket. Okay. Okay, so let's exit and see what's going on. I think we'll probably exit the game. We'll call it a night once we actually do a next time it does a reset. Unless it's very obviously not a full reset.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready
Yeah.
to move on now?
Think so. That's kind of a very odd picture of Stanley there. No screenshots.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. Well,
We got the
I
balloons.
mean, there's potential here, right?
Collectible.
It's sort of... Okay, never mind.
Jump circle.
Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley?
Kind of got your
This
epilogue.
isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Okay, so it's a bit more red than the Stanley Parable. Let's see if beginning the game, if he just puts us, if it's like a true restart of the game, or if there's actually more continued to this, more to this ending.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big
there's the
building
balloons.
where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Okay, so we'll probably
All of his co-workers were gone.
call
What
it
could
here.
mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Okay. So I think we'll call it here. We'll definitely kind of interesting seeing the relationship between the narrator and Stanley, both Stanley as a character and the player controlling Stanley, and how kind of all three of them have their effects on the game. What I'll do for next time is we'll let's see, next week I should be available both Monday and Friday. So next time we play this, I'm gonna look up a list of the endings and try to see which ones we've already gotten and which ones we still need to get, and we'll try to go through and make sure we get them all and get to see them and see what they're trying to say. So, been very interesting and fun so far, and we'll next week we'll continue it and see where it goes from there. So with that, I am kind of curious that we don't see that computer that had the passcode on. I'm curious if there might be some things we'll have to reset and do over again in order to be able to get something, since certain stuff seemed to carry over from one reset to another. But like I said, I'll look that up and we'll see how we're supposed to do it. So with that, thank you for joining me. Have a good week, and I will see you next time. Bye.